so excited. I wish, I wish literally we were still celebrating your birthday on the island. So happy birthday again. You started way early. Way
I
early.
know, I know. Everyone was like, "Were you in the Cayman Islands?" I was like, "Yes, it was a pre-birthday celebration by the beach, my favorite."
That was like perfect timing with cake and everything. So I don't know if you like most of our viewers and me, were you celebrating all month long versus like just the one day all month?
Absolutely,
All month
absolutely.
long.
Yes, even tomorrow dinner with friends and family, and then
Um,
I'm doing a business trip to Puerto Rico next weekend. So,
Woo! Okay.
yes.
So those are the things. It's all part of the work as well, which is beautiful. So as you celebrating, as we approaching this new season, what would you say in this moment that you're most grateful for?
You know, I'm most grateful for my community,
Mm,
right? Even going on this retreat and meeting you and meeting everyone, right? It was just because you sometimes never know like who you're going to meet, if you're going to gel, if you're going to, get together, but more and more. And it's interesting because last year I was like, I was praying for a community because I'm part of a lot of communities, but this year I feel like I'm just blessed with amazing women who are coming into my life. So I'm honestly grateful for that because I've been craving it and it's just manifesting this
yeah.
year. And I think, the retreat was just like a perfect combination of all of like my prayers and wants and needs and it was perfect. So
I
my
like
community, I mean,
and you
honestly,
manifested on an island of all places, which is perfect.
exactly. But
I
oh
just
my God, on a beautiful island.
yeah. And so it was amazing because I knew you were gonna be there later, but I felt like everything was so effortless. Like you walk in and I'm like, oh my God. And to be able to get connected so quickly in a few days and to have everyone so open. And I think that's a beautiful thing, especially we all from different background, right? We do different things, we have different lives, but for me, it was amazing hearing your story, but also hearing the other stories and how we just flow breaking bread together. I mean, I don't remember the last time I sat together with a group of friends where it wasn't like some business meeting where we're just eating together, sharing stories. Some of the stories were just hilarious, especially with our travels and what we've seen on the road. And so your journey, like a lot of people would think you just magically happened, right? Overnight success. Since, because you were on Project Runway like 2012, 2013. Well, season 13,
Yeah.
2013, right?
See,
But this is
mhm.
something I feel like when it's your gift, it's been your whole life. Like there's no moment where you're like, this is it. She just started like last year and she just exploded on the scene. So when you think back on your entrepreneurial
Exactly.
journey, right? What would you say has been I don't know what was surprising. Like did you always want to be an entrepreneur and did things happen naturally and quickly and easily, or was it just a lot of unexpected challenges along the way?
Yes, the latter, unexpected challenges,
Mhm.
all the way. I went in kind of naive, right? And in a way, I'm thankful for that because if I knew now what the journey would have been and what the journey has been, I might not have embarked on this journey because it has not been smooth. It has had so many challenges, so many times I've wanted to quit. And however, something within me has just been like, just keep going, just keep going. And it's also because, it's that saying that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? So even though as corny as it sounds, it truly is that. Like when I saw the picture of Melissa wearing my pants, I was like, oh my God. I wanted to cry because having an idea, right? Sketching, have coming up with an idea of a design, and then having a woman wear it and make it her own is just honestly like the greatest gift. So it's I think one of the most surprising things, I thought when I first started that I was gonna be an overnight success. Like Literally, I was going to just blow up and be like Diane von Furstenberg, and everyone was going to wear my pieces, and it was just going to be like immediate success. And
No.
this journey has humbled me
Mm,
because it has been, and I'm grateful for that because it has been steady, like slow and steady. And they say that things that are successful come with time, right? So I feel like I've also honed, my skill set, and I really know who I am as a designer, and that comes with time. So I'm grateful for the long and windy journey.
journey versus the easy. I mean, when you think of your life, your family, you talk about a few, I think your grandparents a little bit, or your
Yeah,
grand.
my grandmother.
And
Hmm.
so thinking about their journey and their struggles, and they clear the path. I'm just imagining, especially when we're from immigrants families, that what they have gone through for you to be here. Do you think about them during those struggles in terms of they give you the strength to say, you know what, I can push through this and I'll
Ex
make it.
and yeah, absolutely. And especially my father and my grandmother, right? Because like I'm literally, the saying that I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, and sometimes I'm like, where do I get this from? Because I'm the only entrepreneur in my family, right? My siblings, investment banker, nonprofit, engineer, computer, and I'm the only entrepreneur. And I'm like, where do I get this hunger to just keep on going? And I get it from my father, even though he wasn't an entrepreneur. He came from poverty, right? I'm sure you've heard of this because every immigrant kid has heard of. When I was young, I used to walk barefoot to school. That was my father. He actually did, walk barefoot to school. He helped his mother, my grandmother, in the his small village. She owned like a little plot of land where she was growing food, so he was helping. And I am, I am the daughter of a man who came from poverty, whose mother encouraged him to pursue an education. And then he became this successful diplomat, and PhD educated, Sorbonne, LA, UCLA educated man. And I'm the product of that. And it's also incredible because I come from a very patriarchal society, right? And growing up, my father always believed in education and equal opportunity for me, my sister, and my brothers, equal. And in our community, a lot of his friends were like, just get your daughters married so you can get the bride price,
Yep.
right? And he was like no. He was like, my daughters are gonna get the same opportunities as my sons. And he was like the first feminist I knew. So yeah,
Beautiful.
it's
No, I
incredible.
think it's great to have, and I think I wish there were more examples of those men who really changed the trajectory of their daughters or other girls in their families, because typically we don't hear enough of that. And there are so many, like sometimes I think of Malala's father as well, just like yours, in terms of really that's like her biggest person next to her, making sure that she's doing what she needs to do. And then for you to continue the legacy of your family and have the opportunity to do it because you didn't even have an example, right? And so thinking about
Exactly.
like you, whenever you walk into a room, granted, I've only seen you for not that long, I feel like creativity is just there, right? And it makes me wonder about a little Kahindo. Like, did you always want to be that? Were you always, what were you doing when you were little? Were you creating little dresses?
Yes, yes, and I was, but it didn't come, it wasn't like, oh my God, I want to be a fashion designer because that wasn't a career choice, right? We had seamstresses back home, but I never saw a fashion designer. So,
Mm,
but I was that girl who, my mother, I lost her when I was 7, but I have these memories of, I mean, and pictures as well. She was like a fashionista, back in the day with the bell bottoms and the clogs and all of that. So I think I get it from her. And my dad was also very stylish. But even growing up, I remember flipping through like Spiegel catalogs. I don't know if you remember Spiegel catalogs.
Yes.
Exactly. And even playing with like paper dolls. I don't know if you remember folding like the paper dolls, putting like different outfits, like and having a doll, that looked like me. I had a black doll with like, an afro and I'll change her clothes. So I was, because then I've always been like a girly girl, especially, I have three older brothers. So I rebelled, like I wanted to be completely different than them. So I've always kind of had, my own vision. But I loved fashion from a young age. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think I can see you get inspired. Recently, we were at the botanical garden among seeing the iguanas and other things in their natural habitat. I felt like we were right in as well, even though we were guests. And
Yes.
came to you because I feel like multiple collections were in the works as you were looking around. So, what were you inspired by as you were walking in that space?
Yeah, so we went forest, what was it called?
Bathing,
Forest parking?
ours bathing.
Bathing, forest bathing. And everyone always says that, being out in nature is good for you and all of that. And I agree. I love nature. I mean, I'm a beach kind of person, but I think this is my first true botanical garden. And it was so unexpected for me to just be like I feel like my eyes like opened
Mhm.
because everywhere I looked, I saw color, I saw pattern, in everything. And I was like, is it just me? And like my phone has so many
I know
pictures
you were.
and I was like zooming in exactly to like the pattern, remember, of like the leaves, the
Yeah.
pattern of the trees, the barks, and then just the colors, just found in nature, the orange and the magenta and the green. It was like I felt, yeah, in my element. And
Yeah,
it's,
I think
yes,
you were
absolutely.
literally in a candy store because even I think you saw the orchids when you came back because I was always
Yeah.
mesmerized with the flowers and luckily you guys indulged me in terms of naming like what is this? What is that? What are we looking at? Because being in the city, like I do pay attention, but I think the pieces also remind me of many of your collections because they were so sculptural. The textures were there,
Yeah.
but usually I don't think we so present to even take in
Right.
everything
Exactly.
around us. So I think because we weren't multitasking, even though we're taking pictures, like you just see everything like for the first time, you're like, oh my God, the leaves. And then everything was so big. I think I felt like a little like a little kid running around like, look at
Exactly.
then the animals and all the stuff around and it wasn't crowded, right? So you can really indulge and take your time and I love all the pictures you took and I'm looking forward to see what will you create because that's something you couldn't have done by just sitting at home, like being in that space and engaging and see, but then you see differently than other people, right? I remember the first part of the lesson for the mastermind was about color. And so you probably just saw the
Yes.
rainbow everywhere you went was just like everywhere. It was just like, I can do this. I can wear this. I can make this into something. We can wear the forest.
Exactly. 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 And you're so right. I'm here in New York, and you're right because there's so much around us. But, in that moment, we're in a different space
Mhm.
mentally as well, no distractions, and we're just focused at the beauty around us. So, I mean, literally next week I'm about to start designing my new patterns, and it's just gonna be, Grand Cayman inspired with
Can't
so
wait.
much color and just pops of just unexpected color combinations. Because I didn't expect, like that magenta, like such rich colors, green obviously, but there was so many like peaches and oranges and reds, combined. So it was beautiful. Yeah, I'm excited.
And then to have the contrast, right? So to have the ocean and then to have the blue sky that you can actually see day and night. Um, and it was so much. Like I don't think you did the luminous night. Uh,
No, mm-mm.
yeah, and so that was the other thing, to be able to be surrounded by water, because your new collection, at first I was like, is she like a pastel person? Because that's the first thing I saw. It was sort of like a lot of blue
Right.
and soft tone. And I'm just like, oh, is that gonna be the one? But I can see the calmness of the ocean and the water, and that mix where sometimes you see turquoise a little bit, some little green in there.
Exactly.
And so it's beautiful because it's a nice contrast to all the bold colors we surround
Bold.
on
Yeah.
an island, right? And so, but then they don't compete. And I think that's the nice thing with nature, where people feel like I can only do dark, I cannot do light, but for them to coexist in such a beautiful way. And I think it's the way you talk about color theory, right? And a lot of us, we're
Exactly.
not good at mixing things up. That's why we stick with the one color, the
The-
monochromatic, and we just keep it simple.
right.
But it's being courageous. And I think you, when you're creating patterns, one of the things people may not know, like all your fabrics, like you design the pattern. It's not like you went somewhere and just grabbed things off the shelf.
Exactly.
And so even your company, for example, like what inspired you for it to be so Afrocentric and so boldly textured?
Yeah, I think I'm multifaceted, right? I'm from Congo and I grew up in several different African countries. So even that gives me like a Pan-African kind of viewpoint. I've been exposed to many cultures, growing up. And then here, I live in the US, I live in New York, and it's all of that. So I wanted Kahindo to be a reflection of that, of different things coming together, but rooted in African culture. And it's interesting because, I'm always like seeing things through that African viewpoint, but I also want it to be a little edgy since I'm kind of based in New York. So I like incorporating unexpected things, unexpected details, right? That, like, for example, every one of my pieces has pockets, and it's so amazing seeing a woman like find the pocket and she's wearing something because it's not like obvious. I always put them in like the side seam so you might not see them at first. So something as easy as that, or even a cutout in the back, right? Because I am a woman and I do wear like a bra, so I still want a sexy cutout, but something that's wearable.
Yeah,
So I think that's the point of view, but also I want it to be different and unique. So that's why I started designing my own patterns and prints, because it can come from such a different culture, but somehow in my mixing of either textures or the patterns or the design, I make it kind of Afrocentric, but not in the typical way, right? And that's why when people think of African prints, they think of the traditional African prints. But I want to showcase a new and modern take on traditional African prints.
I love that. I love the twist because you think but it's so global. And for me, I find it universal in terms of you don't even need to like color, because you'll find something. Like I had the hardest time, this, picking out. I'm like one thing to be like, oh, let me pick, and then you pick one, and then you see another one, and they flow together, because just like so many things in life, depending on your mood. Today I may want to wear a jacket. Tomorrow I'm like, no, I'm not wearing that. And so it's nice to
Right.
sort of take based on the occasion or how you're feeling. And I think you had this question before in terms of what you wear. Like, how do you decide what you wear? Because you're literally living in the world of fashion. Like, is it easier for you to just pick something, or are certain pieces make you feel more like a Hendo than others?
Yes, they absolutely do. Some pieces make me feel more powerful. And I'm wearing an example of that, right? Gold and red. Really, red is that power color. So I really dress according to what I want to present that day or how I feel waking up, right? So some days I just want to be chill. So I might wear one of my flowy robes. I'm going out to dinner, so I want something powerful and statement making so people can see this piece, right? And then so it always depends on how I feel, how I woke up, my mood. but also what I want to communicate to the world through my fashion.
I love that. So the new collection is already out. What would you say, what did you want to communicate? What in one word that new collection that we can pre-order right now?
Um, yeah, so I would say like Adinkra symbols, Ghanaian culture. I know that's not one word because that's what inspired the collection. I took a trip to Ghana, Accra specifically, and from you got it from the blues, which was like the water, to the more cultural significance of the Adinkra symbols, which I created a pattern through those symbols that showcase femininity and power and world domination kind of thing. So I just wanted to showcase like strength, and beauty through unexpected combinations.
Yeah. And then even within that, I saw a little bit of softness, right? Because
Yeah.
the fabric is so flowy and some of the pieces. And so literally for me, I'm just like a lot of the pieces are very they feel poetic, lyrical. Like there's movement. I like things that has movement in them. So when you're wearing them again, that femininity you talk about was just not like a stiff fabric. A lot of time things are just like really, really rough. And so that's the
Yeah.
beautiful thing in terms of women can truly, whoever you are, you can explore and experiment because I'm excited to
Ex-
see which one is gonna speak to me because I couldn't decide. And so for the next piece that you have, the next collection you're already working on. And so I know
Yeah.
work, there's a lot going on, but this when you're not working, can you share, especially we have entrepreneurs watching, we have people who are still working and have a business and raising children and right, juggling
And
much.
mhm.
How do you, as one of the superwomen of the world, how do you practice self-care, right, but also how do you make sure you're recharging on a daily basis?
Yes, and it's taken me a while to find my rhythm in terms of self-care because I am a workaholic. Even I was about to say I used to be a workaholic. I still am a workaholic,
Covering.
but but I've learned, and I think this retreat,
Mm,
like really honed in on what I've been doing that I just have to, because sometimes, my routine kind of, I don't follow it, but I quickly realize the negative effects it has on me not following this routine. So how I do self-care. It's quite lengthy, but in the morning, in the morning, I've started waking up and drinking a glass of water, doing a 10-minute meditation, journaling as well, and then working out. So that's kind of my morning routine. And then taking a break. As an entrepreneur, I used to just work, work, work. But and I even put it on my calendar, lunch break. And 12:30 to 1:30, I'm not working. I'm not checking my phone. I'm just making lunch, most likely watching, one of my many favorite TV shows.
of our favorites, you watch so many things together. We may have to do a marathon. We may have to do.
Exactly. I know. And then in the evening, as trying to wind down, we learned, drinking like some tea. So I'm still looking for that like sleepy time tea to
Yeah.
start taking. But then also I've started doing a 20-minute meditation, which is such a challenge. But, I'm learning to it's gonna be because meditation is difficult, right? Like you're supposed to not think of anything, but my mind is always racing. But the more I do it, the better sleep I'm also getting, right? Because I'm just literally turning everything off and then putting my phone, not sleeping with it next to my bed, right? And turning down at 9 o'clock my boundaries are set. I don't pick up any phone calls, no social media, I just shut it off, put it by my desk, and that's it.
Sorry, no.
And then reading at least 10 pages. So I told you it was lengthy.
Oh
And I'm
no,
going to add. Mhm.
It's a great one. It's a great one. What are you adding?
So I was going to add, getting a massage because I
Mm.
used to get like a
Got
monthly
hooked on that.
massage and then exactly. And then that kind of went by the wayside. But after the retreat, that massage, I was like, I need to put it back into my monthly rotation.
I love that. I think the possibility that we can still create those routine, and as I mentioned to you, or you can do those rituals, whether it's your morning, your afternoon, your evening, and your rest on purpose. And so I'm glad that you're doing that as well. And so again, you know the culture we live in. What would you say to other entrepreneurs who they're just starting out and they just want a 24/7 because that's what I love? What would you say to them as they're entering in this new entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, that is working like that 24/7 without taking a break, without self-care is literally the number one path to just burnout. And I've been there, right? I've been there where I was just running, 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 working, working, working. And you can't, it's not sustainable. So, however hungry that you are, because people think you have to work 24 hours a day or whatever, but there's so many pieces and times in the day that you can repurpose to working instead of scrolling, instead of, you need the time off, you need your sleep. And it took me a long time to get to this point, but I am my best self, right? When I've gotten 7 hours of sleep and I'm just more, I focus more. I'm just, I get more accomplished. And so that's what I would say, right? As much as you think you just have to go, 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 you need to rest. And then also physical activity, being outside, getting some sunlight. That's extremely important. So I do like a combination of Pilates and walking, because you need that physical activity to keep you going.
So that's great. I'm hoping, our audience will listen, but I'm excited. I know you're celebrating, and I'm hoping we'll do a series where people can see more. We didn't even get to talk about your shoes obsession, the accessories, what the closet looked like today, which I'm sure is very different from the last time I did see the closet. And so
Yes.
if people who are curious and they're like, I need a new piece, they're open to trying something new, and they're like, I want to see what your collection look like. Where can they go to start getting their hands on one of your designs?
Yes. So my new collection is available for pre-order on www.kahindo, kahindo.com. And then I'm trying to do kind of a series of pop-ups, right, throughout the country. So I did one in Nordstrom's and Bloomingdale's. I'm traveling for one in Puerto Rico next Sunday. So if anyone ever wants me to come to their city, just send me an email and I might actually show up.
Yeah, it would be great to have you. Boston, Philly, some of my favorite cities, and add us to the list because we neighbors. Like it's so much easier to get to. But Puerto Rico, enjoy that. So that's
Thank you.
a future trip. So go enjoy and have a wonderful time with friends and celebrating. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.